Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody. Monday night, the first Monday night. Well, I guess we've had some Monday nights going on for a while now without football, but we are now football-less, unless you count soccer, which I kind of don't. For the next, I don't know, let's see, it is now February the 9th. We have to go all the way till basically early September before you get the NFL back again. But after last night, that may be a good thing. Boy, look, I was on Sid's show last week, on this show as well. I said the Seahawks would blow out the Patriots. It would not even be close. This would not be a game. You had a superior defense against a very average offense. But the way I saw it was the Patriots hadn't played anybody. Two teams with winning records. And even in the playoffs, they got some lucky breaks as far as getting Houston, a dome team, in a snowstorm in New England, and then a guy who hasn't thrown a ball basically since Sid Luckman for the Broncos, starting behind Bo Nix. And they got that in the AFC Championship game, also in the snow. And then they got Seattle in the Super Bowl. And this thing was over before it began, much like a old Mike Tyson fight. But all right, enough about the X's and O's of the Super Bowl. Congratulations to the Seahawks. But what we're looking at here is more the halftime show, right? Because that's what, since the game was so bad, everybody's talking about what they saw at halftime. And when you got a guy who isn't speaking, English in any capacity, I get the Spanish thing. I get the whole Latino thing. I get that the NFL wants to expand into Mexico. They have games in Mexico City already. They want to bring in a bigger fan base. In terms of diversity, all right. In terms of business, I get it. But at the same time, when you have a guy that does a halftime show that literally 70% of the country cannot understand, that's probably not good for business overall in terms of your existing customers, unless you believe that no matter what, people are so addicted to the NFL that even if you offend them with a halftime show, insult their intelligence, they will come back and watch every week. So probably the right calculation. Either way, the president weighed in on Bad Bunny and his performance, and we have this first on the Joe Concha Show. Here is the 47th president on Bad Bunny, and then bunnies in general in terms of his overall relationship with them. This is cut number 8. Go.
This is your favorite president, and this message is for Bad Bunny, or as I call him, the nasty rabbit. El Conejo Desagradable. He's a nasty rabbit and a stupid rabbit. Anytime you see a guy in a dress, that's a very stupid person. So he's a nasty guy, a horrible guy. They call him Bad Bunny. I call him the worst bunny. Think about it. And nobody knows bunnies quite like I do. I get along very well with many of the highly respected bunnies all around the world. I have a tremendous relationship with Bugs Bunny. He said to me, "What's up, Doc?" He said, "Sir, what's up, Doc, sir?" I said, "You don't have to call me Doc. You could call me Donald." But Bugs Bunny is a tremendous bunny. He does a fantastic job on the baseball field. He plays every position. Yeah. You look at him, but he does a fantastic job. I get along very well with Roger Rabbit. And what happened to him was horrible, They say, "Sir, who framed Roger Rabbit, sir?"
Who did?
I said it was probably the fake news of the Democrats. They frame everybody. but he got a raw deal. And so we gave him a pardon because what happened to Roger Rabbit was horrible. It was a complete and total witch hunt, so we gave him a pardon. I got along very well with the Easter Bunny, who used to lead Crooked Joe Biden around like a lost puppy. But the Easter Bunny said to me, "Sir, you have the biggest Easter eggs the world has ever seen. They're much bigger than crying Chuck Schumer or Peso Store Obama. You look at Hakeem Jeffries. They have very small Easter eggs, but I have the biggest eggs the world has ever seen. Nobody's ever seen anything like it."
No one has. And there you go. I mean, look, Trump knows many bunnies, as you just heard. Roger Rabbit, Easter Bunny, Bugs Bunny, but Bad Bunny, obviously the worst. And it depends on how you vote. Again, like everything in this world. So if you look at the Twitterverse, the blue sky verse of the left, everybody loved Bad Bunny, the best performance they have ever seen since Michael Jackson in 1993 at the Rose Bowl. I guess. And then on the right, everybody's saying that Kid Rock was awesome with Turning Point USA. Here's what I said on Fox earlier, and I think it's fairly accurate. Or at least this is what I would do if I ran any network, cable, broadcast, otherwise. Let's say ABC, ESPN has the Super Bowl next year. They may. I think they do, actually. If I'm NBC, if I'm CBS, if I'm Fox, if I'm TNT, if I'm E, if I'm MTV, I would find an artist that fits some sort of niche that people like and put on a halftime show to compete with the NFL halftime show. Because as long as Jay-Z is there, it's probably going to be somebody that you've never heard of before, or if you haven't heard of them, you can't name one song or can't understand what that person is saying. So if that is the case, why not offer up, I don't know, if you're Fox, put up George Strait, put up Dust Off. Who's the guy? I got friends in low places guy. Who is that again? I got friends in low places where the whiskey something and the chases the birds away. Again, I don't know very much about country music, but I do know I'm going to find this. I mean, I could have a producer could get in my ear and tell me who that is. That wouldn't be horrible. Friends in low. Fine. I will just Google it on the air. Appreciate that, guys. Thank you. Garth Brooks. There it is. From the gallery. We did get it. The point is that put somebody up there that people like, right? Or at least some people like. And then if you're NBC, you don't have the Super Bowl. Well, then put up some sort of pop star like Katy Perry. Dust her off again. She did the Super Bowl 10 years ago? Pay him enough money and just have a whole bunch of different halftime shows going on and we'll be good to go. I think that's the way to go because why not? Everybody has their TVs on and with a remote, or even now I just learned with my TV through my Alexa, I could actually tell the TV what to play on television, like turn to this station or put on this movie, and it works. I had no idea that this is actually the case, but sure enough, here we are. So that's what I would do. That's just me. Garth Brooks, of course. Then again, maybe I was reaching back too far because I guess he was relevant more in 2004, the 90s. Well, meanwhile, speaking of speaking English, as far as listening to the Super Bowl show and sitting back and saying, well, maybe I feel a little guilty. Maybe I should know more Spanish than I do. And I took 3 semesters in high school and college, and I know enough to be able to communicate on a very basic level. But when you go deep into the weeds, no, not so much. Here is Joe Biden. Not the Joe Biden that you knew in terms of the auto pen 2021 to 2025, whose brain turned to mashed potatoes. This is the coherent Biden talking about how we really need, and this was with Chris Matthews, by the way, formerly of MSNBC. I guess he's still on there, but this is when MSNBC actually had a show called Hardball with Chris Matthews. Here's Biden on why we need English as the premier and prominent language in this country to speak. And yes, a Democrat said this. Cut number 5, go.
Can you scare an employer in this country, whether he's an agricultural worker or a housewife, into not hiring an illegal because the punishment's so high that if you get caught,
yes,
it's a huge embarrassment to your family, and you may just get hit with a fine that'll kill you.
Absolutely, you can, and that's what we should do. Well, I think we should do that.
Because you can't catch everybody.
No, you can't. And the last part of this is that the Democratic position also recognized you got 11 million illegal aliens here.
Aliens
They have to have a way to earn their way into the deal. This is an amnesty. They're required to take 11 years' worth. They pay a fine. They got to learn to speak English. They got to pass tests.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I like the
well, by the
I
way,
think if we want the problems of Canada right now, keep encouraging people to keep their foreign language. English is going to unite this country potentially. It always has in the past.
I can't think of a country that has two languages as their accepted languages that is doing all that well, including Switzerland and or Canada.
It divides us.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't get over that. That is a conversation between two Democrats on MSNBC talking about the need to speak English as the prominent language in this country and how horrible it would be to have two official languages for a country and what it does. And, we don't want to be Canada now, do we? As far as being French and English. Oh, man, that is priceless. I'll listen to that all night again and again. Meanwhile, Ro Khanna, who may be running for governor of California or maybe president, even though he doesn't have any chance of winning. But hey, if you're going to be one of the 27 people that run for president, you probably get a book deal out of the deal. You get to be on a debate stage for a couple of nights, and you build your brand, as they say. Anyway, here's Ro Khanna, Democrat, California. He was at the Super Bowl yesterday, and he was going to make sure that ICE was doing their job or something. Cut number 9, go.
I'm Congressman Ro Khanna. I'm going to be outside Levi Stadium all afternoon with my team to make sure there is no incident with ICE during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because, those here in the country illegally probably are spending $50,000 to $100,000 per ticket to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Talk about performance art. That is it in a nutshell. Meanwhile, it was crazy. NBC. Now, they broadcast the Super Bowl last night. They suffered this horrible, bizarre technical glitch. The entire halftime show was broadcast in Spanish. Like, what happened? Oh, that's right. The guy singing it was singing in Spanish. Solely Babylon B. Thank you for that, certainly. Meanwhile, at the Olympics, what is going on? I'm not surprised by this. We saw this in the World Cup a couple of years ago. Megan Rapinoe on the women's soccer team saying that she's never going to the effing White House if the team won. Okay, good for you, Megan. Real big stand there. And now she talks about how she would allow trans athletes to play in women's soccer. She could say this because she is now retired. So she got all of her endorsements and she got all the millions of dollars that go along with it. And she would not last 4 minutes with a male on the field. And we know this because one time the under 15 boys team, a boys team from Dallas, Texas, played the women's national team in an exhibition match and won 5-0. That's all I'm saying. All right. It is not a knock on women soccer in any way, shape, or form. There are these things called chromosomes. There's this stuff called testosterone, and it gives you a decided advantage. Even if you're much younger, like the under 15 team from Dallas, Texas, blowing out the women's national soccer team. It's just the way it is. And yet people like Rapinoe think that, well, it's okay for trans players, men, to play against women in sports. Again, she says this after she retires, of course. And now we're seeing at the Olympics several athletes speaking out against the United States, especially in terms of ice. One Olympian decided to spell F-ice with 4 letters and then ice by peeing in the snow and then taking a photo of it and then posting it on his social media account. And now is portraying himself as a victim because, wow, he's getting a lot of backlash. And, it really is very horrifying, all the hate that he's receiving. Dude, you are the one who put up the picture first. And again, all these people, when you read their backgrounds, they're from rich towns in Oregon, Colorado, blue states, grew up as privileged as you could possibly imagine. And here they are taking these social stands, which again, everybody has a right to free speech under the First Amendment. But this is a classic example of there is a time and a place for everything. On foreign soil, you're representing this country, and not to be appreciative of all the opportunities this country provides, like you being at the Olympics and growing up quite nicely, right? You didn't have to go to war like so many kids were drafted into Vietnam. It wasn't World War II. Same deal. The greatest generation. You didn't grow up with any adversity basically in your life as far as outside of COVID. All right. Where, yeah, you stayed inside and played on your iPad all day. Good for you. Yeah, that was really tough, I'm sure. And we have people like Hunter Hess. Again, if your name's Hunter, watch out because karma is coming for you. Hunter Hess, a skier, literally has come out against ICE saying how horrible it is and how he is ashamed to be an American at this point. Okay, well, that's nice. You have a right to speak out, Hunter, but it is a privilege to be on that stage at the Olympics. If you don't appreciate it, then hand in your Olympic uniform, go back to Bend, Oregon, where you're from, and go march with Antifa. All right? I'll leave it here before we go to break. A poll in 2025 shows that 62% of Americans aged 18 to 29 have a favorable view of socialism. It gets worse. Only 40% of Gen Zers, okay, those under the age of 30, are proud to be Americans, which means 60% are not. You then look at the baby boom generation or even Generation X, where I'm from, and that number's around 80%, proud to be an American. It's half that if you're that young because you just don't know better. So when you see that 51%, this is Rasmussen, Rasmussen Heartland Survey 2025, 51%, a majority of likely voters who are under the age of 30 want a democratic socialist to win the 2028 presidential election. Well, that tells you everything about these Olympians speaking out because they live in a world where they embrace socialism. They think that they are victims perpetually and think the government is there to solve all their problems when they should just do it themselves. Especially you would think of Olympians who have to work so hard just to get to that point. And once they do, they get up on an Olympic stage and bash this country. Sorry. Don't make this a situation where people are rooting for the friggin' Swiss to win a ski event or in hockey. But we're getting to that point where many, many people in this country say, you know what? You're not proud of this country. I'm not rooting for you either. And that's even the Olympics has become that now at this point. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. Back with so much more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Jesse Jackson, Barack Obama, Don Lemon. Which name does not deserve to be in that sentence? Well, hint, it's Don Lemon. No hint. Just going to go right into that. Here is the former CNN anchor, scare quotes, comparing himself to civil rights leaders after he got arrested last week for storming a church and breaking about 1,000 laws as far as the FACE Act, the KKK Act. And now this guy is putting himself up in the Mount Rushmore of civil rights leaders. This is cut number 6. Go.
In my time when I was there, I thought about all the people who'd come before me. I thought about all of the people who fought for civil rights, who fought for gay rights, all of the people who were at Stonewall.
Civil rights.
Marsha P. Clark. I'm like, yes, those are the people, those are the real heroes. And so what's happening to me, I have, at least in this time that I'm living now, more agency, more resources, more rights, and I would hope, than the people who were fighting for our freedom and our civil rights.
You absolute hack. You stormed a church and got into the face of parishioners, including the pastor himself. And now you're Rosa Parks of journalism? Get out of here. Back with more in a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everyone. So to piggyback on what we talked about in the previous election, Bill Maher, who I have said on this show, I'll say it again, is the voice of reason within the Democratic Party, outside of course, say, a John Fetterman, Senator, Democrat, Pennsylvania. Here he is making fun of Democrats because apparently I mean, the numbers are pretty bad. I cited one poll before. This one's even worse as far as those on the blue team, how proud they are to be an American or lack thereof. This is cut number 1. Go.
Seriously, this is a serious problem for Democrats. Less than 1 in 4 Democrats under 30 say they're proud to be an American. 54% say they're embarrassed by it. Embarrassed. Like America's your mom picking you up at school?
Exactly. What are you embarrassed about exactly? And again, these are people, many of them have never been to another country. They live in their phones and therefore in this mythical universe where America is a bad place. And I don't think they understand how good they have it, particularly now in a world where things are quite convenient, quite warm, quite safe. Again, you're not being drafted to be in Vietnam or World War II, or you didn't go through the financial crisis of 1929, the Great Depression, and even 2008, you probably were, I don't know if you're under 30, your parents had to worry about that. So outside of COVID, many people who are under 30 years old just simply don't get that being an American is probably the best hand you could be dealt once you leave the womb. No question about it. Meanwhile, speaking of people that like to complain a lot, Michelle Obama, who definitely is not Gen Z, she has left the White House, obviously, about 10 years ago. And since then, has established this podcast where all she does is complain about basically everything in terms of when she lived in the White House, which, again, talk about privilege. And now she has a house, Martha's Vineyard, despite so-called climate change, where I think her home has its own zip code or its own area code, but it is that big, that gorgeous. Talk about a life, and not just in Martha's Vineyard, but also a place in Hawaii, a place in DC. Nice life. You were the first lady of the United States. But nevertheless, we have a nice little contrast here between Vice President JD Vance talking about family and how much he values that, much like Charlie Kirk and JD and Charlie were obviously good friends. This is JD with Megyn Kelly and then Michelle Obama just talking basically into the air about how horrible her life has been throughout her entire horrible existence. Here's the contrast. Cut number 10. Go.
There are certainly sacrifices that come along with this life.
Our kids are little. We're going to have to move.
There are also a lot of good things.
It's expensive to live in the White House.
What a blessing it is to be here.
There were moments when I didn't feel like I got enough attention.
We live in this beautiful, very protected mansion that the American people have gifted us.
Many people don't know. I mean, much is not covered.
Most of our meals are prepared for us. So we don't have to worry as much about cooking.
You're paying for every food, every bit of food that you eat.
There are a lot of things that in some ways make having a baby easier.
How do you raise kids in the White House? It's dangerous.
You don't have to worry about TSA lines when you're the vice president. Air Force 2 makes transportation pretty easy.
We had to pay for their travel to be on the plane.
My attitude towards kids,
they're a hassle.
What the hell have we gotten ourselves into? No more kids.
They mess you up.
Then we had a second, then we had a third, and now both of us are just like, what's one more?
Whatever.
Oh my goodness gracious. That is the greatest compare and contrast montage I have ever heard. And probably you've heard it for the first time here as well on this show. So congratulations, pat yourself on the back. That is that good in terms of somebody who is humble in JD Vance and somebody who is utterly spoiled like Michelle Obama. Oh, I'm going to play that. Guys, put this like in the generic file because I just want to rip that out whenever I'm feeling blue about anything to actually appreciate what I have in life and appreciate the fact that I am not somebody who is married to Michelle Obama. Barack, I got your back here, man. I really feel bad for you, and I can understand why, maybe things were getting rocky with that particular spouse. Anyway, Adam Schiff, boy, this guy is on cable news and ABC, CBS, NBC, more than like Ryan Seacrest. He is the Ryan Seacrest of Capitol Hill. He is everywhere. He is what the SAT word would say is ubiquitous. You can't get away from him. And I have a problem with this, and you should too, and I'm sure you do, is because this is the least credible person in Congress. He leaks like a shiv. He has lied over and over again, said he had definitive evidence that Donald Trump had colluded with the Russians, and obviously never produced that. So you would think if you're a typical host or producer on any of the networks that I just mentioned, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, that you would not book this person because maybe when he speaks, there's not a lot of meat behind it. He's all foam and no beer. And here, sure enough, is Adam Schiff, who's brought on to national television this weekend to talk about how horrible the SAVE Act is. The SAVE Act, of course, is just simply requiring voter ID for people who want to vote in this country. They have to show ID like they do at an airport, like they do at a liquor store, like they do for basically anything in terms of showing, hey, here's who I am and here's how I back it up. But sure enough, Democrats are taking the 15 side of an 85-15 issue. It's not going to end well, regardless of how this goes in the Senate. This is cut number 11, Adam Schiff. And if you throw up in your mouth a little bit, I understand completely. Cut 11, go.
Photo ID. Because as you know, let's show up. There was a recent poll. There's been a lot of polls on this. But in one recent Pew poll, 83% of adults support requiring photo ID to vote. 71% of Democrats favor requiring photo ID. Is that something that you can support? And if not, why not?
It's still going to be something, Jonathan. It's still going to be something that disenfranchises people that don't have the proper real ID, driver's license ID, that don't have the ID necessary to vote, even though they are citizens. This is another way to simply try to suppress the vote.
Is it really that hard to get an ID in this country? Is it really that hard? Disenfranchises people. Well, let's ask a black guy, shall we? His name is Wesley Hunt. He is a congressman from Texas. And here he is talking about all the ideas that he has. And apparently it's not much of a problem for anybody to get one, or in this case, several. Cut 15, go.
Black people don't have cars, don't have driver's licenses. So it's sort of a vestige of post-slavery laws where they prove their right to vote.
They make the case that being black in America means we can't obtain a government ID to vote. And that's not only a ridiculous assertion, it's demeaning and it's insulting. Sitting with me today is my global entry card, my military ID card, my Texas driver's license, my Texas license to carry, because that's how we roll in Texas, my congressional card, and of course, the good old-fashioned American passport. What sorcery is this? What am I, the Black Houdini? How was I able to pull off the impossible and attain not one, not two, not three, but 6 government-issue IDs? Personal responsibility in this country. I fought for this country as an Apache helicopter pilot to protect free and fair elections, and having a government-issued ID isn't racist, it's American.
Thank you, Wesley Hunt. Wow. I counted 6 IDs. Did you? Again, it's the Democrats. They're going to die on this hill. And 71% of people in their own party believe that you need a voter ID in order to vote. And they're saying that black people are too dumb to figure that out, to figure out how to get one. It is so insulting. And I hope that every black voter bookmarked this as far as like why maybe you should reconsider supporting the Democratic Party blindly if you voted for them your whole life, because this is what they think of you. Also, what some folks think of your average voter on the blue team, especially those that are young and are in their phones all the time and don't really inform themselves in any educated way, is cut number 17, of course. And this is a Democratic PAC. This is, I thought it was SNL. Like, I really had to triple check it. I swear before I sent this cut to the producers of the show to play for you, because I'm like, this can't be real. This really isn't something that was produced by a Democratic super PAC, was it? Yeah. It is. And I know I'm hyping this a little bit for being that dumb, but it really is. It's cut 17. I hope you're sitting down. Go.
I had a really good time today.
Yeah, me too. I really look.
What are you doing?
She's coming with us.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're rounding up illegals.
She was born here. She's a citizen.
I don't care. She looks like one of them. But don't worry. When she's in prison in El Salvador, she'll have lots of company.
Good God. No. It's really real. And if you watch this, I know we're only on audio. It's basically, remember Slugworth from, Willy Wonka? Guy looks like Slugworth, right? An old white guy. Don't worry, when she's in prison in El Salvador, she'll get lots of attention. And then he goes into like almost like fake, kiss her. Oh, it's funny on some level, but there are enough people out there that will watch that and believe it and then decide to attack an ICE officer probably in the next day or two over this. I mean, that's I think what Democrats are running on. They want enough people to be misinformed and that stupid and that naive to believe that that is what federal authorities are doing right now as far as rounding up illegals, that they're actually going into a date between two white people and taking the girl away because maybe she looks like she shouldn't be here. No, ain't happening. Meanwhile, my colleague Greg Gutfeld over at Fox had quite the perspective on the Democratic Party in terms of this whole thing around 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, even younger, deciding that they're not their own gender and want to get a sex change. And then parents who are actually supporting this and doctors who are actually performing these sort of things that could be obviously life-changing and even life-threatening because of all the suicides that we see among those who change their genitalia after the fact. Anyway, here's Greg. He'll explain it better. Cut number 4, go.
What is amazing is the same party that thinks a child can possess the ability to understand having their genitals removed doesn't think a black man can figure out how to get an ID.
Yeah,
how can you be in that party? How can you be in that?
That's a very good point. I believe he's saying that to a colleague also on the 5. And it's true. Like, how do you possibly say that it's hard for black people to get IDs, but at the same time, you think that a child understands that getting their genital removed is a good thing and you support it? I don't know. It's a very good question. No question about it. Meanwhile, if you want to see racism in broad daylight, this is a Democrat named Gene Wu of California. I know you never heard of him, but he is a Republican, and there are hundreds of Congress people in that particular chamber. And they're not Jasmine Crockett or AOC, where they say ridiculously stupid things and therefore get on the air all the time. Well, Mr. Wu probably will be co-hosting The View within a couple of days after making this particular comment. And I'm sorry, this person should be censored, and he should be thinking about his resignation, because I have heard subtle racism over the years lately and blatant racism. This is a whole new stratosphere. This is cut number 7. Go.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African-American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning. Because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided. And I talk about this.
Wait. We could take over the country? Non-whites share the same oppressor? He was sober when he said this? Oh, so there are calls for his resignation. And of course, nothing will happen. And again, The View, MSNBC, CNN, this guy will be their next Jasmine Crockett. That's just the way this is going to work. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment. Please do stick around.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Now, as I may have shared on the show, or if you're turning in for the first time, I have two kids. One is 10 years old. Liam, he is a football rock star. I mean, talk about a great defensive play this weekend. Flag football. Sunday, we got a big win indoors. Thank God we play these games during the winter because obviously there are no fields to play on. It's been covered in snow for at least here in New Jersey for the last 2.5 weeks. Football star, skiing star, golfing star, soccer star. I mean, this guy, trust me, just please get me a scholarship because it's like $85,000 to go like to a state school now these days. It's nuts. But the reason why I bring up Liam and then my daughter Cameron, 12 years old, huge soccer star. I mean, I'm talking about this girl is on a team that is like nationally ranked, which I didn't know you can do when you're 12 years old. Didn't know they existed, but sure enough, she plays in all these tournaments. Like forget like playing Bayonne, or like some other town in New Jersey, which we do once in a while. We end up going to San Diego to play other teams. Like seriously, like fly across the country. It was kicked around that we're going to Spain in the spring. That was shot down. Thank God, because that's like a $10,000 trip. Again, these things are very expensive. The point is that I bring up my kids, straight A students, by the way. Thank you, me and my wife, obviously, for staying on them, for doing their homework first before they have the fun time later. Pretty simple concept, but you'd be surprised how many parents don't do that or think they could trust the kids. No, we run this place like North Korea. Trust me. Anyway, the reason why I bring this up is because cut number 12 is going to explain how a parent, this is an actual parent, and this is sickening. All right. I'm not using like the fake, some people on the radio, they get all angry and you're like, does he really mean that? Or does she really feel that way? Or are they putting on an act just to kind of get you angry? No. This really pisses me off. And this is cut number 12 of a parent talking about how their 1.5-year-old, all right? Now think about it. Your kids walk around one. They maybe could say 3 or 4 or 5 words when they're 1.5. But this 1.5-year-old told this mom that, yeah, she's trans and she knows it at 1.5. Cut 12, go.
In what age do you think most trans kids determine that they're trans?
Violet told us when she was 1.5. She's been telling us since she could speak. So she knew since birth.
No,
what motivated you to come out here today?
We're supporting our child, Violet, and her access to the medical care that she needs.
We're here for her rights and her ability to be who she is. She's not going to let anybody silence her, and we're not going to stand in her way.
Are you concerned about how this case would affect Arizona, or do you think that would have an impact there?
Yes, 100% we're concerned, and we've discussed having to move, which we don't want to do, but Violet comes first, and her medical care and her medical needs come first. So
these people should be arrested. I am 1,000% serious. You are not sane if you think a 1.5-year-old or a 5.5-year-old or an 8.5-year-old or a 10.5-year-old or a 13.5-year-old knows what gender they really, really are. And the fact that they are now pushing this, that they're willing to do a sex change on their poor little baby. Dyfus, if you're listening, do something. This is wrong. I just got back from Arizona. A lot of great people there. Granted, I was at the Waste Management Open, which if you've never been to college or lived in a fraternity house, trust me, this is your bucket list thing to do. But seriously, I really met some awesome people out there. And I can't believe that two people like this exist on this planet, let alone Arizona, where now they're talking about the rights of their 1.5-year-old who they say, oh, we don't want to silence her. Oh, yeah, 1.5. She knows exactly what she wants to do with her genitalia. That is sick. That's effing sick. I hope somebody steps in here and this child gets the real care they deserve and should be. Honestly, I know this sounds extreme, but take this kid away from their parents. They're sick. They're out there actually at some sort of protest or march advocating this stuff. You can't be human if you actually think that. Sorry, just the way I think. Anyway, we are out of time as the music you slowly hearing is saying, I got to get off the stage. This is like the Oscars. So I thank my agent. I thank you, the listeners. I thank my producers. I thank everybody who made this show possible tonight on Monday night. We're back tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC in New York and everywhere throughout the country. Until then, I got 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.